is Bean to Barstool, a podcast that looks at the intersections of craft beer and craft chocolate. My name is David Nilsson. I'm a professional beer writer and an advanced cicerone, and the creator and host of this show. The music for this episode is by my dear friend, indie folk musician Anna P.S. You can find out more about Anna's music in the show notes or at her website, annapsmusic.com. You can find links and information about our guests in the show notes as well. I hope you enjoy this episode of Bean to Barstool. While the bean in Bean to Barstool primarily refers to cacao for craft chocolate, and the barstool usually refers to craft beer, we have also covered craft coffee and spirits on this podcast periodically, and we're looking at doing both more often going forward. Today's guest brings both of these worlds together, giving new meaning to the name Bean to Barstool. Charlene Cabioch is a barista and mixologist from France who has a deep knowledge of both specialties and has professional awards to prove it. She was a winner at the AeroPress World Championship in 2019 and the Coffee in Good Spirits Championship for coffee-infused cocktails in 2021 and 2023. In our conversation today, Charlene talks about what happens during a coffee or cocktail competition, how her love for coffee developed, and how curiosity drives her passion to learn more about her favorite foods, beverages, and the processes and ingredients behind both. Charlene also works with cacao in her cocktails, and we talk about that as well. Charlene is an enthusiastic and energetic personality, and I loved getting to learn from her during our conversation. So listen in as we talk coffee, cocktails, cacao, and curiosity with Charlene Cabioch. Charlene, what is it that you love so much about coffee, and what made you fall in love with coffee originally?
First, I love this question, and I found the love with coffee because of his flavors, the origin story, the complexity of this product, and the entire world. Like, I never get tired about coffee. There is always a lot to learn about this product. That's why I love coffee.
When did you originally get into coffee?
I get into coffee thanks to competition. When I was at school, I went into a cupping table, and I really get interesting about this product because I knew nothing about it, and I really want to learn all about coffee, and it's how it starts.
Yeah, I see that you have competed in several barista competitions. You've won a few competitions. Talk to us a little bit about how these competitions even work. I think for most people, that's a world that we're not a part of at all. So what is a barista competition like? And tell us about some of the ones that you've been involved in.
Okay, well, the competition I've done is the AeroPress that I won in 2019, and also Coffee in Good Spirits, and also Brewers Cup. I can talk about the Coffee in Good Spirits is making a cocktail with coffee. So you have to get the skill of the barista for extracting the coffee, all the knowledge, and also the technique of barmaids for myself. And AeroPress competition is about extracting coffee with one method, which is the AeroPress.
Tell you what, let's start with the AeroPress one. I have an AeroPress in my kitchen, so I'm very curious about this. What actually happens during the competition? Like, how does this work?
Okay. The AeroPress competition, you have several rounds, and you have to make the best coffee. You have the same coffee, you know nothing about it, and you just need to make the best cup with one unique method, which is AeroPress. You can choose the grind size, the amount of coffee, no much more than 18, and you have to serve an amount of water, and you have to have balance in your cup, looking for the nice acidity, the sweetness, and show the potential of your coffee. For me, is this, and after it's between the test of the judge, like if he prefer his cup because it's more balanced, or he go for more acidity.
And so that's 18 grams of grounds that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you don't know anything about the coffee. Did they just present you with new beans right there, and that's the first time you're smelling them?
Yeah, exactly. You can guess when you see the bean, like you can know if it's a wash process, natural process. After with the extraction, if it's more sweet, more fruity, more floral, you can get some information of the coffee. And after you can try different type of recipe. You can change your grind size to make finer or bigger. The water you want to use, the minerality, the temperature also, because everything influence on your final cup. So it's super interesting how with one product you can get so many different flavors and you can make a different cup with the same product.
Yeah, I think coffee is so unique with that compared to alcoholic beverages, chocolate, cheese, other connoisseurs, food and beverages, because with coffee, the consumer has to have a role in actually making it at the end of the process, where everything else is coming to you already made. Coffee, you have to take that final step. And I think that's really interesting. So
Mm.
at the competition, you see the beans, you smell the beans. What is running through your head then in that moment of the decisions you're going to make for what you're going to present to the judges? Do you just have dozens and dozens of options in your head and you're picking from those? Are you going by instinct? What are you doing in that moment?
First, you go with something that you already know that works well, and you try with this coffee, like the recipe. And if works well, it's great. You can manage and adjust a little parameter. And if the result is not what you are looking for, you have to make big change. For example, the recipe I really like to do for my AeroPress is using water at 88 degree. It works for geisha coffee. Yeah, for cat wine, Maragogi, but for the coffee, and yeah, it depends also from the origin and the process, but it's a recipe that works most of the time for me with this temperature of water. And with this coffee, because of his process and also the roast, I had to manage everything. I had to use a temperature water of 96 degree, which is a lot, and I really wanted to show his sweetness and the fruity flavors that you can get in this coffee. That's why I had to adjust, because 88 degree doesn't work for the coffee I had for the last AeroPress, for example. So yeah, you go with something that you know can work, and after you manage.
So you get a couple different tries before you actually give something to the judges. You get to try it for yourself a few different ways first.
No, this is at home. Like you have 250 grams of coffee that
Okay.
you can use, and after the day of the competition, you have another bag of coffee with 250 grams of coffee that you have to make on stage, like to make sure you don't put other coffee bean or whatever.
And how long do you have to do that when you're on stage?
You have 6 minutes.
Oh, wow. The
Mm.
pressure is really on then.
Yeah, you grind your coffee, make you brew, make your AeroPress, and serve to the judge.
So, part of being able to make the perfect cup of coffee is being able to be a
Mm.
very good taster and recognize what you want out of that coffee when you're making it. When you get new beans at home, so you're just going to try these, experiment with them in different ways. What is your tasting process like to be able to evaluate the coffee?
Okay, to evaluate the coffee, you have an international protocol. The name is the cupping. Every producer are doing this in the country where they process the coffee, to test the coffee, also the buyer or roaster to evaluate the potential of the coffee, and us for competition or whatever. And this is related to the SCA, is a Specialty Coffee Association. You have a scale. The coffee are evaluating between 80 to 100. Like if you have a coffee doesn't really exist, but can't touch the 100 points. It's an excellent coffee, and you have from 80 to 200. And you have to do this cupping. You put 11 grams of coffee. You smell the fresh ground coffee. So you evaluate first when it's dry. And after you put in the cupping bowl, ground coffee and your water, like 200 grams of 94, between 94 and 96 degree water. And after you wait for 4 minutes, you break the crust and you smell the aroma of your coffee. And then you have to remove, to clean the bottom of the coffee, the top of the coffee, and you slurp. You slurp to evaluate the potential of your coffee. You have the body, the acidity, the aftertaste, the balance, and you can slurp when it's hot and wait until it's cold to see if your coffee is changing, which note you get, if it's floral, fruity, and it's an international way to evaluate the coffees.
We'll be right back.
Are you a craft beer enthusiast interested in learning about the San Diego beer scene? Join the hosts of the Capital of Craft podcast, brought to you by the San Diego Brewers Guild, where they explore the unique culture and innovation that defines San Diego's craft beer community. Hosted by Eric Fowler, Executive Director of the San Diego Brewers Guild, and Jeff Fox of Beer Media Co., this podcast offers a look into the trends, challenges, and stories that shape the local brewing community. From sustainable brewing practices to hop trends and navigating the complex world of brewery regulations, their episodes shine a light on the industry professionals behind San Diego's renowned beers. Whether you're a longtime industry professional or just a passionate beer enthusiast, their conversations offer fresh perspectives and valuable insights into what makes San Diego a true capital of craft beer. Subscribe to the Capital of Craft podcast on your favorite platform today and follow them on Instagram at SD Brewers. That's SD as in San Diego, at SD Brewers. Get ready to explore the flavors, stories, and craftsmanship that make San Diego's beer scene truly unique. Do you have a type of bean that you're especially excited about right now, something you've been using recently that you really like?
I'm always excited about trying new coffees. The coffee I love is the Panama Geisha. The Geisha, also from Guatemala, are amazing. Geisha in general is an amazing variety. Recently, I discovered the Spicy Liberica, which is super great, from Philippines. I really get impressed about this coffee bean because of his sweetness. It's super sweet. There is no bitterness in the cup. It's a coffee that I found really strange, and I like discovering new flavors. So I will say the Liberica from Philippines, and trying new coffee. Now I'm working with a new coffee shop in Nice. They are doing coffee from Colombia, full Colombian coffee, and now I'm creating drink with them. So I'm
Cool.
always interested in discovering new coffees.
Now, as I understand, you've also roasted some of your own coffee. Talk a little bit about getting into that and how that has changed your understanding of coffee.
Yeah, it's true. So first of all, I'm a person who really needs to do the things to understand. That's why I wanted to learn how to roast a little the coffee. I'm not a roaster, but I really found in learning the process of roasting the difference between coffee and different roast profile, like how to get more floral in your coffee. It's really interesting, the impact of the roasting process, of course. And that's why I needed to learn about roasting to understand how you get those different flavors in your coffee, like at which point if you put more hair, you will clean your coffee, but you will also remove the floral flavors that you can find. And I make the test with a geisha from Panama, and it's true. If you put a lot of hair, you will clean the coffee, yes, but you will remove the florality also. So it's a lot of skill, like in roasting.
Yeah, there's so many little variables. Anytime I listen to
Oh,
someone talking about roasting coffee and even getting into the competitions like you're doing, there's just the tiniest little adjustments make such a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, most of what I have seen from you on Instagram involves using coffee in cocktails and bringing that together with different forms of alcohol to make interesting coffee drinks. Let's talk
Mm.
all about making coffee cocktails. So, how do you go about developing a new coffee drink from scratch? Not, creating something you've done before, but if you're going to make a new one, what goes into developing a coffee cocktail recipe?
Yeah, to develop a new coffee recipe, you have to first start with an idea, with a concept. Could be a coffee. I really enjoy using the coffee as an own ingredient with his own profile. For me, coffee is not just an ingredient, coffee or coffee liquor. Coffee is a variety, is a process, is an origin, and is a type of extraction. You can do cold brew, you can do espresso, you can do aeropress, you can do whatever you want. And I like to use the coffee as his own ingredients. So that's how I start with the coffee. And after, I try to mix with different ingredients that could work well together, like the mixology. And I try to create something unique. I like the coffee, the terroir, the process, and I blend with other ingredients, and could be with alcohol or without alcohol. For example, I create in a coffee shop in Panama drink without alcohol, and I use the coffee like a floral geisha to create a floral wash geisha to create a drink super elegant and floral, a natural pacamara to create something chocolatey and a creamy drink, or a natural extended fermentation maragogi to create a fruity and foamy drink with a nice shades of red with hibiscus and also ingredient that can give these red flavors. So yeah, it's how I create the drink from nothing, like from an idea, the product, and highlighting the profile of the coffee with the other ingredient and choose them well. Like for me, it's important to relate it all the ingredients together, like why you are using this gin, this rum. Like if you use a coffee from Guatemala, could be a good idea to use a rum from Guatemala as well. Yeah, some simple things that could work well together.
So that's interesting. You are always starting then with the coffee. I was curious if you had a drink idea and then you were finding a coffee to go with it. It sounds like you're starting with the coffee and then building around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also take in the other sense, like in the other way, sorry. You can have the idea of something, like you want something floral, and something with nice acidity, like in your drink. And after you go to find the coffee. So you are looking in your mind with a coffee which will be floral with a nice acidity, or you want a fruity cocktail, for example. If you want to make a twist of an espresso martini, I will go for a natural process because of its fruity note, and you can do like that as well. Like it's different way to do. You can start by the coffee and create your drink, or start by the drink you have in mind and look in your mind which coffee will be the best, and after the extraction also.
So when you try a new coffee, is there a part of your mind that is always thinking about a drink you could make from it?
Most of the time, yes. Because yeah, I'm creating drinks most of the time, but sometimes I'm also making a coffee just to enjoy a good brew or an espresso, just like that, without creating cocktail.
Sure. So you mentioned there are different formats of coffee that you could use, cold brew, espresso, different things. What
Mhm.
goes into the decision of what type of coffee is going to work best? Once you've figured out a bean, how do you go about deciding I should make espresso and add that to the drink, or I should turn this into cold brew, or whatever format you're going to
Mm.
use?
Yeah, it's the intensity I'm looking for. Like you will get more intensity in an espresso than in filter coffee, for example. And also the clarity. You have much more compound in the espresso than in filter coffee. Like the shade, the color you brew, your filter coffee will be more clear than an espresso. So with the texture also you won't get the same texture and the amount of coffee you need if you use a filter or if you use espresso. And the flavor, like you don't extract the same.
Well, if you're willing, could you share with us an example and walk us through a particular coffee cocktail that you love?
We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, my book on pairing craft beer and craft chocolate is available now on Amazon and on the Bean to Barstool shop. Pairing Beer and Chocolate, a guide to bringing the flavors of craft beer and craft chocolate together, is out now. This paperback book explains the process of pairing beer and chocolate, includes a guide to hosting a pairing at home, walks through dozens of beer styles to provide style by style pairing guidance, and gives room for taking your own pairing notes along the way. This is the only book on pairing beer and chocolate available. Grab your copy now at the link in the show notes or on Amazon. If you manage a tap room, bookstore, chocolate shop, or cafe and want to stock the book, get in touch about our easy wholesale process. Beer and chocolate belong together, and this book is your guide to getting the most out of every pairing.
Yeah, sure. I can share the one I made, Barako Connection, the one I made in Austria with this coffee, the Liberica. So it's the Liberica with Palo Santo Cordial, and Cordial is a preparation that gives you balance in your drink. It's like a syrup, but with a lot of acidity. You can make a cordial by your own, and the Palo Santo is wood. The nice aroma is wood, but more delicate and soft. I really like this wood, and in cocktail, it's great because it matched really well with the Liberica coffee, and also you can use inside with a cordial and outside to get a full experience. You can smoke your glass with the Palo Santo. You can burn a little the Palo Santo. Use a tree from Peru, and the smell, yeah, it's amazing. And in cocktail, is really interesting and give a beautiful match with the coffee. So you can burn a little this wood. You put your glass on the top, and when you open, you have the smoke of the Palo Santo. You have this delicate and nice aroma. And after you put your cocktail, it's a hot cocktail actually, with liqueur Napoleon, which is an orange and cognac liqueur. The coffee, so it needs to be like filter coffee warm. The Palo Santo cordial that I told you, and the last ingredient, the Suze. It's a French herbal liqueur, and this liqueur gives a beautiful vegetal undertone
Mm.
that's much amazing. It's not a lot of ingredients, but it's a really nice combination between all of those ingredients. And
That
I
sounds
really enjoy, yeah.
Yeah, that
The
sounds great. I love smoked cocktails, so that sounds really,
mm,
really good. Uh,
try.
you mentioned earlier that you medaled in the Coffee and Good Spirits competition, which was a coffee cocktail
Mhm.
competition, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, tell
It's
us a little bit about the competition.
Yeah, well, first at all, I didn't won the first time I made. Like for a competition, you need to work for that. I won in 2021 and 2023, and this competition is about creating two cold drink, uh, cold cocktail, and two hot cocktail for the second round. There's three rounds. The first is the spirit bar. You have to pick up an alcohol and create a drink with a concept. For example, last year in 2023, I was in Taiwan and I get inspired about the culture of Taiwan and the bubble tea. So I make a bubble coffee and I create with the alginats and bubble, instant bubble of coffee that I put in my drink. So I create a cocktail with a coffee bubble.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, for the spirit bar. It was nice with a good with some layers, and yeah, you had the same visual of a bubble tea, but it was a bubble coffee. So the first round is a spirit bar. After you have the preliminary round where you have to make two hot cocktail and two cold cocktail, and the final with the cocktail you want, could be hot or cold, and the classic Irish coffee is one recipe, like classic recipe, but you can twist how we spoke with different coffee. You have whiskey that you can choose, also the sugar, the syrup. You can use honey or different kind of sugar. There is so many possibility, and the cream on the top. So yeah, that's the competition.
Yeah. What did you do that made yours stand out?
Yeah, I can share my 2021 because the first competition I won, Coffee Good Spirit, I was so happy, and I won with a coffee I love from Guatemala, a patch variety in honey process, and also we can speak about the cacao because I use the cacao of Guatemala
Oh,
and nice
cool.
pairing. Yeah, I made the homemade marmalades of cherry to highlight the fruity flavors of the coffee with the chocolate syrup was amazing, and Zacapa rum. So yeah, a cold drink with a nice shake,
Hmm.
and it was super cool.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I would definitely drink that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
do
it's
want.
not hard to make, like espresso. If you have a Guatemalan coffee, you can make your espresso, Zacaparon, syrup of chocolate. I'm sure you have a lot of great chocolate. And yeah, you can use cherry marmalade, nice shake. And yeah.
That sounds great. I will have to try that. I do want to talk more about working with cacao in just a second, but first I want
Mhm.
to back up a little bit and talk about making coffee mocktails without alcohol.
Mhm.
How does that change things when you don't have the alcohol component in the recipe?
Okay. First of all, for me, it doesn't change a lot because for me, a cocktail is an experience, and with mocktail, you can also make an experience. You just have to make the ingredients working well together. So, of course, I love coffee mocktail because everyone can enjoy. Without alcohol, it's the same process. I will take care of the ingredients I want to use and also the coffee, and it will be the same. The cocktail I create in Panama, like, is without alcohol, but it feels like you are drinking a real cocktail.
Hmm.
You have the same care of the technique, the process. Like for example, the one with the maragojip is the maragojip. Oh, I don't have the word in English to say groseille. It's this red berry,
uh,
this
how,
red berry,
how is it
groseille,
spelled?
Grosea 2 L E. groseille. Yeah, berry, red berry. But yeah, I use cold brew of Marago Deep, natural extended fermentation to get the balance and the sweetness. I use honey. For the red nuts flavor, the red fruit flavor, I use this fruit, the groseille, like this berry, this red berry, and citric acid water solution. You can use tartaric, malic, citric, and this give you balance. And the flower, the hibiscus flower for the nice shades of red. So it's beautiful drink and it's red. And also so you have the body of all the ingredients that you can stir together, and on top a foam of the hibiscus, the coffee, and the honey to have the sweetness, the floral aroma, the coffee that works well together. And you make the foam, and you have this nice shade and these different textures. So you can play with the flavor, texture, colors as you play making a normal cocktail with the alcohol.
Sounds amazing. One of the things I found interesting going through your Instagram feed is that the role of presentation plays a big part in this. I've seen videos where you're pouring from like way above your head, way down into a cup down below. And like there's this theater to it of getting to watch a person make the drink that I think influences how you end up enjoying the drink. How much do you think presentation matters in making cocktails?
Yeah, I think a lot is really important. Like everything, the ingredients you choose, also the presentation of your drink, and how you are making it, how you make it. The technique you have, if you choose to use a Cuban roll, as I made, the Cuban roll is when you aerate the cocktail. You could do a simple stir, but if you want to give much more show, is a nice technique. That's why I like to use this technique to make the people enjoying. They really like when I do this, and I love to do that. I start in my shower doing it because it's a little complicated to
I
get
was
the
going to
technique.
ask how that went the first time you did it. Like, did you just make a
Oh,
gigantic mess?
yeah, it was a mess at the beginning. Water everywhere.
Let's talk about cacao. You talked about using the Guatemalan cacao in the one coffee drink you made, but you also have worked with cacao in other drinks. How did you get involved working with that? I assume you started with coffee. How did you get involved with cacao?
Yeah, it's true. I started with coffee and I'm super curious. So I found in chocolate a lot of similitude with the process of the fermentation of the chocolate. And that's why I get interesting and I wanted to learn more about chocolate as well. I went in Mexico, where I met someone that introduced me in this world. Well, before I was in Guatemala, where I introduced myself completely by hazard, like randomly. I said that I want to discover the cacao of Guatemala, and I saw the process of fermentation, and I went more deeply when I was in Mexico for a few weeks, and I learned like just the beginning, seeing how does it work, the fermentation in banana leaves, how you have to dry it, like you have to kill the embryon of the chocolate to don't have bitter flavors. It's really interesting how there is similitudes with the coffee words and the process of cacao. I really get interesting, and also about all the product. The tea is a super interesting word as well, and the tastes, like I like to taste different chocolates, like Sao Tome with this beautiful acidity.
Mm-hmm.
Madagascar, you have this smoky undertone. Or Taiwan, recently, I tried chocolate of Taiwan, super impressive, really, really sweet, like banana and apricots. The one of Mexico I try, it's a little bit more, it's more acid, like lime. Also the cacao of Guatemala. Yeah, for me, each product have his own profile, and that's why I wanted to learn about cacao. And I think you can make nice drink with chocolate and cacao and coffee.
How do you actually incorporate the chocolate into the drink? Are you melting bars? What are you doing to actually get the chocolate into a cocktail?
The first I bought 100% cacao in Guatemala. So for the drink I share with you in 2021, I bought 100% cacao in Guatemala and I made my own syrup. But I could use also chocolate bar. And what I use to create my bubble coffee in Taiwan, I create a white chocolate syrup. I used milk and cacao butter and sugar, white sugar. And depend of your cacao butter, you can have amazing cacao chocolate flavors. Because some of the cacao butter I tried, they don't have any flavor, taste, or aroma.
Yeah, a lot of
So
times it's deodorized before we get
yeah,
it. So, yeah, there's a big difference between what comes straight from the cacao and what we often get that's been deodorized.
mhm. So yeah, I use the in syrup bar. I use in bar to create syrup, and also nibs. I use in nibs and the cascara of the cacao. Did you try the tea? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great ingredient because you have the flavors of cacao, but you don't have the same tactile experience of drinking a chocolate, and you don't have the fat or the sugar of the chocolate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you use the nibs in a drink? Is that more of a garnish, or are you actually using those for flavor somehow?
You could use in garnish, yes, but also in infusion. Yeah, I use nibs just for garnish, but you can make also infusion.
Okay. Have you had the chance to use any cacao fruit or juice? I know it's hard to get fresh, but have you had the chance to use it?
I drinking a lot when I was in Guatemala, and it's great. The flavor of the cacao juice, the mucilage. Oh, it's like a lychee, nice acidity, rose also. I really enjoy this, and I used the mucilage in my previous competition. Yes, but reduce mucilage, so doesn't have the same. Yeah, have the same flavor, but much more intense. It's a big brand that create this product. It's like the syrup of mucilage with high content of bricks, so it's good. It's like a syrup, much more intense than a syrup, but it's different from the mucilage. And I also use the on mucilage blend with coffee, and it's really cool.
Can you share with us an example of a cacao cocktail that you've put together?
Yes, sure. So the first I share with you, cacao. Yeah, I can share one I create with Pacamara coffee. And then I made an espresso of Pacamara, a natural process, but it's white chocolate. But you can create also your own white chocolate with a good cacao butter, milk, and sugar. And if you want, you can use milk, um, like vegetal milk, if you want to give flavors of coconut or soya, depending on what you like. Coconut could be better, or cashew. And you shake all the ingredients with rum. It could be simple but good, like to create at home. White chocolate, rum, and a natural coffee like Pacamara and espresso.
That sounds amazing. I want to try all of these drinks you've been talking about.
I also.
Again, going back to mocktails, I know you addressed this with coffee, but is there anything you do uniquely when you're looking at using cacao or chocolate in a mocktail?
Could be a nice idea to use the mucilage of the cacao. Other ingredient could be, for example, like now I have an idea with rose water to accompany the mucilage of the cacao. You can create, yeah, it could be white chocolate or milk chocolate, dark chocolate, create like a syrup, or using an infusion. Yeah, I have a lot of idea now, but I would need to write everything.
Love it.
And
We're getting
after,
to see the creative process at work.
yeah, yeah. First, it came with the idea. After you have the flavors that are blending in your mind, you have to write everything. You can draw as well if you want. And after you test, and sometimes it's work good, and sometimes it's not. You have to adjust.
Sure. Well, you mentioned going to Panama, Guatemala, Mexico. How much does going to the origin where coffee or cacao is being grown, how much does that influence your appreciation of the flavors and your understanding of the flavors of those beans?
Hmm. I appreciate a lot going at origin, traveling to discovering the coffee process, the cacao, the different ingredients. And for me, it's really important because you are discovering yourself and also the flavor of the country, the culture. And yeah, for me, it's really important to travel. Like I couldn't imagine myself without traveling. I'm learning a lot every time I'm traveling somewhere. And I love learning new things and be able to share it after.
Yeah, learning to love new things. It feels like that has come up throughout a lot of what you've described. You mentioned earlier that you really want to understand something. That's why you got into roasting your own coffee. How much do you think curiosity plays a role as a professional? Like, how much does the importance of just wanting to understand things, how much does that change things for you as a professional? Why is that so important?
I think, yeah, be curious is really important for everyone want to share. Like in this industry, it's important to be curious because yeah, you are learning and you can share. Like the world is always moving, growing, changing, and you have to adapt yourself. You can't stay with what you already know because it's always moving and you have to improve. So be curious is something really necessary, I think. And yeah, for myself, it's just my nature to be like that.
What stories are you trying to tell when you're creating a new drink with coffee or cacao or whatever else?
The story I'm telling is the story of the product, the story of the person who creates the coffee, for example, or the cacao. I'm sharing, yeah, the history of the person behind the product. That's why I really like to think of everything when I'm making a cocktail, the glass I'm using, why I'm using this glass, the decoration, why this product, like every ingredient. So yeah, I will say that I'm telling the story of every people behind this cocktail.
You can learn more about Charlene on her excellent Instagram page at Charlene Spirit Coffee. I'll link to that in the show notes. I'm hoping to be able to share one of Charlene's cocktail recipes on the Bean to Barstool blog soon as well, so keep an eye out for that. Speaking of the blog, we have a new feature. Every 2 weeks, we're publishing Cool Beans, a roundup of the coolest new craft chocolate bars that have released. It always gets posted on Instagram, so follow at Bean to Barstool to see when a new one has been published and set alerts to be notified when we post. Thanks to Charlene for coming on the show today, and thanks to all of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Bean to Barstool.